Welcome back to the Morehammer podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things Warhammer and hobby from the past week. This week it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and we will be sharing our struggles with mental health and how the hobby has helped us through, but also our top tips on how to help maintain your hobby mental health. We'll also be previewing this weekend's US Open reveals in Dallas, and of course we will end the show on our usual Warhammer 20 questions. I am one of your hosts, Wargaming Luke, but joining me this week are my amazing co-hosts. Rejoining us this week is Ben, aka 90% Geek. Good to have you back, bud.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I was poised and waiting because I'd watched last week's episode where you'd said you were going to catch me out once I was back.
Oh, no.
I was absolutely poised for you to come out with something like you did last time.
No, I'm only going to save that for special occasions, I think, just catch you guys out, but for the fun of it. But I'll struggle to come up with stuff for every single week, so the pressure's there. And of course, Simon, aka Hobby Waffle, welcome back as well, buddy.
How you doing? You're right. Nice to have Ben back this week.
It is indeed. Before we get into proceedings this week, as always, bit of off the top, guys. Please do subscribe to us on the channel. Throw some likes on the video. We had a good rise last week with, again, every week we're growing and growing more and more, especially on Spotify, actually. It's really starting to take off more now. So if, like say, previous weeks, guys, feel free to follow us over on Spotify as well. You can listen to us over there, watch us on YouTube. Make sure you're leaving comments and things like that and reviews over on Spotify. And also, of course, we look forward to seeing you over in our Discord channel. If you want to check us out over there, links to all of that, as always, are in the description below this video. Come over and join us for some chat, and I'll link into that again as we discuss mental health stuff this week as well. Because it's a nice kind of environment to be involved in, so I'm sure we'll bring that up again later on. But before we do go into kind of news topics, main topics for the week, hobby updates, I guess. Si, you've just been chatting to me yourself about a bit of what you've been up to earlier this, was it this week or last week?
Friday night it was.
Friday night, thought it was, yeah. So do you want to take it away and let us know what you've been up to, bud?
So this past week I went to one of my friend's house and we had a game of Star Wars Shatterpoint. Actually, I've not played it for quite a while. I've been collecting bits here and there and building some stuff up. When we'd started a game a while back but never got round to ending it. So we had a good game on Friday night. It ended in a draw, and we were going to carry on just to see if someone could do an extra struggle and win the game. But the Northern Lights was suddenly all over Facebook and everything else. So we went out into the garden. He lives in the middle of nowhere, thankfully. So managed to get some nice pictures of the Northern Lights and see that. So yeah, that was good. And then this weekend, not done too much, just a bit of undercoating. So basic boring paint stuff, really. Because the weather was nice, I thought it was a good opportunity to get the spray cans out and do some undercoating.
Nice, sounds good. As I was saying to you before the show, I'm looking forward to at some point dropping into some Shatterpoint when I find the time and whatnot. But it does look good. I played some Marvel Crisis Protocol by the same company, obviously, in the past, and it's a great game system, and they do some lovely rules. So I look forward to trying that out at some point.
I think the miniatures for both game systems are amazing as well.
Yeah.
Great miniatures.
A lot of the rules are quite thematic as well. So as you're playing out the various tactics and things they can do on the cards, you can imagine it happening in the realm of Star Wars, if you like. So it's pretty cool in that respect.
But Ben, you're back with us this week. You've got 2 weeks of catching up to do, I guess, on hobby updates for whatever time you've had, because I know you've been busy. But what have you been up to, dude?
I have actually got some hobbying in. I'm going to post some pictures over on the Discord and on my Twitter feed probably tomorrow. But I've painted a ton more of my Empire stuff. I've finished the first of my Wargames Atlantic Ogres. I'm really chuffed with how he's come out. Cool. Got the base colours on a whole bunch of the other ones, just in a kind of a smattering of different provinces from across the Empire to represent each of the ogres being, kind of wandering mercenary that's been awesome. Equipped with its uniform by whichever Elector count they happened to be fighting for at the time. But yeah, then I finished off the Hockland handgunners for the army. I've started the second and third rank of the Avalon Swordmen. I've finished the Battle Standard Bearer for the Knights of the Blazing Sun. And I got a unit of 12 of the classic late 5th, early 6th edition crossbowmen for a deal from Troll Trader. I've had those in the biostrip basically since Friday. Got them out today, cleaned them off, spent the whole of this morning cleaning them, soaking them to get the biostrip residue off, gluing them back together, undercoating them, and I've just got the base colours on them. So they're getting done up as a 12-man unit of Talabecland crossbowmen. So yeah, my Empire army's really going to shot along this last few days when I've managed to get some dedicated hobby time in, which has been really good.
Nice, awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah, you'll have to definitely keep us updated. Obviously, as always, I know you do both do anyway, but be interesting to see where you're going with that. Awesome stuff. I guess myself then, no hobbying, purely because I had the whole weekend of being at the Warhammer World event. That has been my last 3-4 months of preparation for.
I saw your picture stood next to the Rhino at Warhammer World.
Oh yeah, the classic picture next to the Rhino.
Somebody's comment said it looks like I've just bought my first car.
Yeah.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I didn't realise after because my friend took it for me. I was like, "Would you take a picture of me with it?" And
I was harrowing.
Yeah, when he commented, I was like, "Actually, yeah, it definitely does."
The temptation now, actually, to take a picture of that and then submit it to WeBuyAnyCar.com just to see what they value it at.
You need to next time you go to Warhammer World, you need to take an L plate with you and stand in front of the Rhino with an L plate.
Well, you can get magnetic L plates, can't you? We can just stick a magnetic L plate on it and see if anyone notices.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to check out pictures from the event, go onto our Discord, as I mentioned before. Links will be in the description. All the pictures and all that sort of stuff will be on there, and what I've been doing at the event. But needless to say, I've never been to a Warhammer World event before, proper one. I always wanted to go to one of their narrative events. Their narrative events are much more rare and far between. So when they do them, they tend to put the effort into them. It's the last obviously Sigmar 3rd edition thing that they're really doing, and it was a really well put together narrative event. It's probably one of the best events I've ever been to. They had like the 4 grand alliances, put you into the different teams, like 10 teams on each, factions on each team. And then you'd be pit up against each, and you'd after you've had your game, you could like build strongholds on tables. You could then choose whether, if you won that game, to stay on that table and defend your stronghold. My friend Finn, who I came with, had his Stormcast. He was on the same table and built a stronghold across half of his table by the end of the weekend. It was awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and obviously I took the Seraphon, a kind of a nice fitting end to like painting up to 2,000 points and having played with them for a while. And finishing it with that narrative event, it's just perfect, to be honest. So I really enjoyed it. I recommend to anybody, if they put up narrative events, do go along to them. I'm sure I'll be at their next one because I can recommend it that much. But no, good fun weekend, good variation of games. Always lovely people at narrative events as well. Very laid back. So yeah, awesome stuff. I think and now I'll be able to finally move back onto my Tomb Kings. So I'm really pumped to get onto the Tomb Kings now, so I'll be excited to update that on those in future weeks. That'll be good fun. But yeah, I think that is hobby updates out of the way, guys. So Ben, what is it time for?
And now the news.
Awesome.
Subdued.
yeah, that's it. So main topic for this week, of course, it is Mental Health Awareness Week. This is a UK-based week, I think, but it's it matters worldwide anyway. I think October's the other one later in the year, so I'm sure we'll do something again for that later in the year. But I think I know you guys, so Sai and Ben, I've posted already on the channel, and I'm sure I'll leave links to them down in the description. Both of the guys have done their own videos raising awareness for mental health for this week. Both fantastic videos giving tips and things on how to deal with mental health around the hobby and whatnot, and both are really good watches. So go and check those out as well after you're done here. But we're going to do something similar along the lines. So I think between the three of us, we'll sort of share our own experiences, I guess, and how the hobby's helped us through those experiences, just to open up for other people who'll be watching. Hopefully, the aim of this, I guess, when we first ever started this, one thing the three of us as hosts agreed on that we definitely wanted to cover was this, to raise awareness for it, and basically hoped that there'd be even one person by talking about this week that it'll help. And that's the aim for this. So the first thing we're going to do, each go through sort of our, like I said just before, sort of situations we've had in the past and how the hobby's helped us out with it. But then we're going to give a couple of tips each on how different things that can help you with your hobby mental health, because Warhammer can both be a good thing for your mental health and can also be bad. So we're gonna kind of get into that as well, I suppose. And please do, guys, if you're listening, viewing, get involved in the comments. Feel free to share. Feel free to get involved as well with any of your tips and things. That's what this is all about. And before we kind of share our sort of stuff as well, I'm just gonna I'm sure the guys will be the same as well. Put myself out there and say, if you ever want to message myself, whether it's privately, you want to jump onto our Discord and have a chat, there's always down points for everybody. I'm always going to be there. I'm sure the guys will as well. So I just wanted to definitely kind of put that out there.
Yeah, man.
Do you guys want me to open up with mine maybe, and then just go into it from there?
Yeah, by all means,
go ahead, man.
What I've had up in the past. So purely because people will know from my channel that I've had in the past, obviously, it'll be a year and a half ago now. One of my best friends, Alan, passed away very suddenly, young age, all considering. Always had troubles during his life. I'm not going to get into all of that, but part of it. I've got a separate video on the channel that I did honouring Alan and what he did for the channel my channel in the past and all that sort of stuff. But needless to say, probably my own fault in a way, but a lot of my gaming in the hobby and who I spoke to with the hobby was purely me and Alan, because the channel took up so much time. We did battle reports every week. It was the two of us. It was very involved for years, actually, probably 4 or 5 years. And you guys, viewers out there, a lot of you will know him. Very eccentric dude. And obviously when somebody suddenly goes away like that, and they're a big part of the hobby as well, it's kind of hard after that point to not only, obviously, the channel was the last thing on my mind, but the hobby side of things, that was the only person I gamed with, really, mostly for 4 or 5 years. So I kind of had to take myself away from the hobby it ended up being a good solid 9-10 months. But the thing that affected my mental health more, I realised that even though I needed those months away, it didn't take long for me to realise I needed the hobby back, at least the painting, building, that desk side of it, to kind of really help me with my mental health. And I realised that I'd missed it massively. And so bringing that back into my life certainly helped me, because coming towards the end of last year, really struggled mentally. And so I can fairly say that Warhammer certainly put me back on track mentally, and mental health wise, without a doubt, or the hobby in general. But that's sort of one of my more recent, if anything. There's been many things in the past that it has certainly helped me with the hobby, getting through mentally, but that's probably the biggest and most recent that I know the viewers all connect with as well. So that's my my sharing and outpouring of how the hobby's helped me with my mental health.
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody who's ever had a problem with mental health and stuff like that is ever going to have the exact same experience as anyone else. There's no one quick fix. There's no one quick solution to any problem, but there's always something that can help, isn't there? So for me, I have quite a stressful job. And one of the things that always helps me was coming doing the hobby and stuff like that. And I know when lockdown hit, obviously it's a very difficult time for a lot of people, as Ben, I'm sure, will no doubt later tell you about. One of the things that kept me going was the hobby. But then I realized on the other side of that, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about the hobby, if you like. So that's why I ended up starting this YouTube channel, because my son actually said to me, you're always going on about Space Marines and this, that, and the other. And he loved YouTube at the time because he was like, well, he still does, but he was 6 and he was obsessed with it. So he said, why don't you start your own YouTube channel? Go on, do it. So I recorded a few videos, but I never published them. And then it ended up being like an outlet, if you know what I mean, sort of a help thing, where I could just get stuff off my chest and talk about it. And then it became a thing. And then all of a sudden you've got people expecting you to upload videos. And then along with it comes pressure and a bit of anxiety about having to make the videos. What do I make next? How do I make another video? So then you get this whole new level of stress that you didn't even know you needed from actually making videos. So it's like a double-edged sword. And as that's gone on, that's made my life even more busy, if you like. So I've posted a video today about mental health, and I've said, like, if you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, do I have anxiety? I would have just laughed at you and said, no, I'm just busy and I'm stressed. Turns out I actually do. And now that I know about it, I can actually avoid those triggers that actually cause me to overthink. I overthink things and I worry about stuff. Is this going to be good enough? Can I do all this in this set amount of time? But yeah, that's one of the things that I struggle with, a bit of anxiety, and a bit of a long-winded way to get around to it is the hobby is a good escape from real life, isn't it? It's a good escape from the stresses and the pressures of real life. You can sit at your desk, put your headphones on, listen to a podcast or an audio book, or you can just pick up some miniatures, paint or build, and you're away in that world, aren't you? Or read a codex, or as Ben loves to do, write a list. Just takes you away from everything else. You're at your desk for an hour. So that's one of the things that I always do that helps me. But I was thinking, what about when the hobby causes you stress? What happens then? What do you do if you have a bit of anxiety about trying to get an army painted for a tournament on time and you haven't got the time to do it, or you're worried about playing war games with someone, you really want to do it, but you can't do it, and you're not very confident in groups. So sometimes the hobby can cause stress as well, can't it? So my first tip I would say is, if the hobby starts to cause you stress, just get away from it for a little bit. And one of the things I've found is walking. I know it sounds a bit crazy, and I'm not going to go into massive detail about it. I've done it on my own video. But just if something becomes a bit too much pressure, just get up and walk away for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. Go for a walk, get some fresh air, and just clear your mind, get away. And then you can come back refreshed, can't you? That would be my first tip. Just if something becomes too much, don't let it get to you. Just walk away. Have a bit of fresh air and go for a walk. But anyway, we can talk about that in another time. And then my other tip, it's a bit more lighthearted. If you're struggling for inspiration, hobby burnout, we all know what that is, don't we? Suddenly you get to a point in a project, or you get to a point in a hobby where you've lost your mojo and you don't want to paint anymore. I'm sure you've had that before.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the quick fixes I find for that is read an old codex or an old army book or an old White Dwarf magazine, and all of a sudden you find a bit of inspiration again. You see an old picture of a Blood Angels Death Company, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I really want to paint some Blood Angels. So sometimes just the memory of something in the hobby can trigger it. Or if you're struggling for inspiration on something, search the hashtag on Instagram or Twitter and see what everyone else has done. And all of a sudden you think, that's a brilliant idea, I'm going to do that. I struggled with Dreadfleet. Not so long back, I was painting the ships and I didn't know what to do. So I pulled out the old, and I've got it handy as a blue piece of magic, pulled out the old White Dwarf magazine with all the Dreadfleet stuff in it, read through it again, and all of a sudden I was ready to go. I got my mojo back and started painting the stuff up. So that would be my two tips, really. And I know I wobbled on a bit there, but one, if it's getting too much, just take a break, walk away from it, go outside, and to coin a dodgy phrase, just touch some grass. Go outside and you said it in your video, didn't you, Ben?
Yeah, touch grass.
Just go outside, get some fresh air, have a break, and then come back.
Take your shoes off, run your feet through the grass.
And then the other one is, if you're struggling for inspiration, or you've got a bit of hobby burnout, pick up an old army book, an old White Dwarf, an old catalogue, play a Space Marine video game or something like that, and all of a sudden the inspiration comes back and you're good to go. So they would be two of my tips.
I mean, one of the things I didn't touch on, I have to say, in mine, really, if I was to give my main tip, would be just if you really are burnt out and you're finding that little breaks away from it and things like that aren't helping, I will say that even though it's possibly for different reasons to other people, taking a longer break away from the hobby, even up to a year if you need to, I've never been more refreshed coming back into the hobby than I ever have been before. And I've had breaks away from the hobby before for different reasons, but more for that reason, for mental health reasons. I've never been more invigorated about the hobby. I mean, God, we came up with the idea for this podcast for that very reason, that we're all enthusiastic about the hobby. So there you go. You couldn't get more evidence than that, I suppose, about what it can do for you. But Ben, do you care to share whatever you wish to share? Tips, whatever you want to bring up with us?
Absolutely. I want to talk something about Si said first, though. I haven't had a chance to watch your videos, Si, but I was wondering, when you talked about going out and taking a walk and stuff, Have you ever done any of the like the Conqueror medal type stuff challenges?
I have indeed, actually. Yeah.
Yeah?
Funnily enough, there's a new Star Wars one just been announced.
I was going to say, have you heard about that?
Yeah,
What
I've
are
had a quick
they?
look.
'Cause I
They're
don't
not
know.
cheap. Yeah, I did the Mount Fuji one, so I did that from walking and a bit of running. And then bizarrely, they sent me 2 rather than 1. I don't know why. Yeah, so apparently I did that twice. But yeah, I do like those, and I've got myself a new watch, a Garmin watch, and it's got all little badges in it for doing certain step things and doing different things. And I do like myself a little badge and a little reward for getting something. So even that's just been a little bit of motivation. But yeah, the Conqueror things, I think I might do the Tatooine one. I'm very tempted by that.
I've been doing the Lord of the Rings one really slowly.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I've seen those as well.
But yeah,
What
I mean,
actually is it?
okay, so it's basically a thing where it's a website that you kind of sign up for,
Okay.
and you have to pay a fee for whichever challenge you want to do. But then there's an app you can install on your phone, and you just log like how far you've walked or run or whatever mode of perambulation you have used.
Yeah, all the sports
the
can be
app for the challenge.
into it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's like swimming or whatever. But you log it into the app, and it has like a set distance. So, for example, the Lord of the Rings one that I've been doing, it's a series of 5 challenges, and then the map shows it essentially as the journey. Like challenge 1 is the Shire to Rivendell, and you can do it as either a set
all the way
distance
to Mount Doom or something.
Basically, yeah. So it's the journey of the ring from the Shire
that's so cool.
to Mount Doom. You can do it on the Lord of the Rings one. You can do it as 2 settings. One is their Conqueror setting, which I think the Shire one was like 100k or something. So it was a decent distance, but I mean, I did it over the course of several months. There was also then an alternative setting, which is book accurate setting, which is the actual distance from like the Shire to Rivendell, which it suggests you do as a cycling one rather than walking, because it really will take forever, because it's like 700 miles or something stupid like that. But yeah, each one, when you've completed it, the app kind of recognizes you've completed it, and then they send you a physical medal in the post, and they're gorgeous. They're like, I mean, Si's probably going to go and grab one in a minute. Mine are upstairs, otherwise I'd shown you. My wife's got a whole bunch of them hanging up over there.
I think I've briefly heard of this before, but didn't really properly know what it was. And now that you've actually mentioned that, I'm really tempted to sign up to that.
They're really cool. I got the Lord of the Rings one as a birthday present last year. Yeah, it's come in a pack like that, and then they're like a heavy, solid metal medal with like enamel decoration and stuff on them.
You know what? If anybody from Games Workshop up the top is listening, they really need to do that.
That's what I was going to say. They need. There's a Lord of the Rings tie-in one. There's a Star Wars tie-in one. We need a Warhammer Conqueror medal. I would absolutely do that. You're going to show off. Is this your Fuji one?
Yeah, this is a sealed one, but I mean, I can open it. It's not a problem.
Great, crack it open, man. Why not? Live on camera. Here we go.
Yeah. No,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah, there we go. It's gorgeous.
Oh wow!
It's difficult because of the light, and then
and it's got like a really kind of decorative.
For anyone who's listening and can't see on the video, we'll get Si to maybe post a picture or something on Discord.
You get like a fancy actual ribbon, and the medal is double-sided as well, so you get like some flower patterns on the back side of the metal. It's a chunky, heavy metal.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, that was something I just wanted to touch on because I hadn't had a chance to watch your video. Awesome. And I thought maybe it's something you actually covered in your video, but if not, there we go. So, I mean, I already kind of, anyone who's seen my Warhammer hobby mental health, Warhammer wellness video will know I have my own struggles with mental health, and I'm quite open about the fact that I've been seeing a therapist for a while, and I saw a grief counsellor after my mum passed during COVID, which was really helpful. That kind of, I don't think I could have made it through that without the help of that counsellor, to be honest. They were amazing. But yeah, I suppose I kind of, something I kind of touched on in the hobby mental health video, but I didn't want to make the whole video about my own personal struggle. Was, so as I'd mentioned in that, my mum passed during COVID. I know a lot of people lost relatives during COVID. That's actually one of the sweet things about having posted that video, is the number of people who've kind of come forward and shared their own stories. And it really has been nice to see people, supporting one another and being brave enough to kind of open up and talk about their own experience. That's been really cool. But what I didn't talk about that was the aftermath of my mother's passing. My mother had been in an abusive relationship with my stepfather.
Really?
And he'd been arrested, for example, for beating her up on at least one occasion in the past. And in the aftermath of dealing with her death, I had to deal with him. And one of the things that I had to kind of put up with was him barraging me with threats of violence, threats against my other members of my family, threats to commit suicide if I didn't give him the attention he wanted or didn't give him what he wanted. Essentially, he transferred the level of abusive behavior that he had exhibited towards my mother onto me. And I had about 2 years of that following the death of my mother, whilst trying to handling her estate as the executor of her will, and having to deal with him as the co-executor. And it basically broke me. It got me to the point where late one night, my wife was away on work. I was kind of alone in the house. Well, alone aside from my child asleep upstairs. And I was just absolutely my wit's end. And I reached out to one of the many organizations that are out there that will offer help and support, and basically kind of did my cry for help of I just can't cope. I don't want to be here anymore. I was at the point where if it were not for the fact that my daughter was asleep in the house, I wouldn't be here now, because I could not cope with the level of stress and the physiological reactions that even now it still causes in me. I'm shaking a little bit talking about him. And I talked for about an hour and a half to this person on the phone, and they went through a whole diagnosis process with me. And they basically at the end of it turned around and went, yeah, you've got PTSD, you've got post-traumatic stress. Well, the trauma of dealing with this has basically reached the stage where it is causing physical harm to you. So I got referred to counselling, and I've been working with a counsellor for a while on that. And one of the things that I have constantly found to be helpful is my love of the Warhammer hobby. I make no bones about the fact that I love miniatures. Ain't miniatures brilliant, as someone characterized me. But having that as an outlet, having the option, and it is a multifaceted hobby, having the option to escape into the Warhammer world, whether it's, in a Warhammer book, or I would calm myself by laying, when I was laid in bed at night unable to sleep because of the stress of it, I would calm myself by basically painting in my head. I've got a fairly visual imagination, and I would visualize an army that I wanted to paint, and I would then begin applying the color schemes to it and trying out different combinations in my head, just as a way of calming my brain and getting it to realize that it was safe. I would pick up some models and just focus on painting. I mean, batch painting, a lot of people hate batch painting, but actually I find it quite relaxing once I've settled on a color scheme and I know what the process is to achieve that color scheme. Like, I've worked out this is the best way to paint my Avaland army, and it's stick Avaland, not surprisingly, stick Avaland Sunset on the model, then a coat of Eandon yellow, the contrast wash, and then layer up with a couple of different levels of other yellows. And now that I know that, I can literally just sit there with, I've got swordsman, spearman, pistoliers, the crossbowman, the halberd. I've got all these different Empire units that need painting, but I know how to do it, and I can just sit and quite happily lose 2 or 3 hours.
I'm the same.
Yeah, that's it. Batch painting. It's actually really kind of zen, because you just get into a rhythm. I think the closest I can think of it to it's like running, I suppose, almost. You get into that motion, you get running,
or even what you'd probably can consider to be like meditation or something. You just zone out when you're doing it. So
So what I was going to say is my 2 tips for hobby, because we said here all night talking about it. First one I was going to say was, as much as I love batch painting stuff, there is the risk of burnout when you're painting something, especially if you're working on like a whole army or something. It can very much, if you're doing everything is the same, burnout is a real risk. Like I struggled with painting like a whole Space Marine chapter, just because I can't buckle down and paint an entire army where every model is identical. Much as I quite happily zen out with batch painting, I want to have little tweaks, little flourishes. I want to have something a little bit different. So that's my first kind of little tip: is do things that where if you're going to paint, an entire army or something, plan ahead. If you're like me and you have that difficulty, that everything's going to be a little bit different. So when I've planned my Empire army, I've planned it like, okay, the swordsmen are mostly yellow with black socks. The spearmen are half black, half yellow. The halberdiers are almost all black with yellow jackets and red feathers in their caps. They're all in the same color scheme, but I've planned it in such a way that each unit is slightly different. And if I get bored, and this is kind of leading into my next thing, if I get bored with batch painting one unit, I can skip over to one of the other units. It's still working on the same army, but it's sufficiently different that I can mix things up a little bit. And that, I think, just helps avoid the risk of burnout. In a similar vein, if you are absolutely burned out on painting a particular army, just stop and paint something else. I call it a palette cleanser.
Yeah.
Like I've got a whole little tray of little random stuff, and some of them aren't even like Warhammer models. Like I picked up these amazing, they're basically the Ghostbusters from I think it was Black Scorpion that did them. But yeah, they are properly the Ghostbusters. And I've painted, I have to share a picture of them. I've painted one so far, but occasionally if I want something different, I'll go back and paint another Ghostbuster. And it's a completely different random miniature. I've got some of his cowboys from his Wild West game, Tombstone, as well, because they are some gorgeous sculpts. And they're on my pile of palette cleansers that at some point, if I want something completely different from Warhammer, I can go and paint something non-GW, because it is a different style of miniature. It's a different style of painting. So that's kind of, I suppose that's kind of two things.
Yeah, combined, yeah.
It's just it's two edges of the kind of same thing.
It's true. I mean, following up from that, I mean, obviously, we just said at the start about how I've literally been painting solid Seraphon for 3 months, but I have had a couple of moments where I've thought, am I hitting a bit of burnout? And that, your advice that you just gave, Ben, just step away from it. If you feel like you want to paint something else, maybe try that. It worked for me on a couple of occasions, for sure, and then I was happy to come back to the Seraphon a week or two later. It didn't bother me too much. But also, I think we brought up on a podcast a little while ago, try not to set yourself deadlines if you can help it. It does help you mentally much better. The only reason I had plenty of time to do the Seraphon, I've had it for like the last 4 or 5 months to do them. So I've just been sort of every other weekend doing bits and bobs on them. And also, the only other thing I was going to bring up is find what suits you best in terms of like paint style. Like I found speed paints when I came back into the hobby last year. I never liked contrast paints for GW. I couldn't get along with them. But I tried the speed paints from Army Painter. I absolutely adore them. I used to find it really hard and got burnt out from painting, especially batch painting. But I found the speed paints, and I'm in love with painting. I absolutely adore it. So, I'd maybe suggest just try a few different things, and you might find something that suits you even better and makes you enjoy the hobby even more, and that side of the hobby, I guess. And if you don't like the painting side of the hobby, get out to your clubs and mix with different people gaming. Socializing is a big part of the hobby as well. You
just reminded me of something when you mentioned about the speed paints rather than contrast paints. I struggle with like layering and stuff like that, and brush strokes sometimes, not thinning the paint, even though I use a wet palette and I follow all the instructions and what have you. For my main color ranges, I switched to 2 thin coats paints, Duncan's paints. So I still use contrast paints. I find a lot of contrast paints very, very useful, and I like how some of them are different consistencies as well. The yellows are pretty magical, to be honest. Black Templar and Black Legion are good colors, but for main colors and layering, 2 thin coats paint has absolutely changed my paint style completely. It's given me the confidence to paint more. And just what you just said then, just sometimes just changing a brand of paint or trying something new can often give you that boost. And the other thing that you're reminding me of is when you're talking about palette cleansers and stopping, when I was getting a bit fed up and I had a bit of burnout, I got some terrain that I'd sat on the shelf for ages. It's big, it's chunky, there's not like little detail bits on it. So sprayed it, washed, dry brushed it, and then put some wash on it, and then did a little bit of final stuff on it. Didn't take long. I was so chuffed with the results just because I did a bit of easy terrain painting, and it just gave me that boost. I thought, oh, I really enjoyed that. Now I need some miniatures to go on the terrain. So sometimes as a palette cleanser, switch to something completely different. Rather than a miniature, pick up a tank or some terrain. Something completely different, and it can just give you a little bit of a zen boost.
Yeah, sure. In a similar vein to what you were saying there, actually, Si, the other thing you can do is build something. I mean, instead of painting a kit, build a kit. I've got a stack of the Mortal Realms magazines that I bought in a fit of enthusiasm, and they're mostly still in their packets. But if I'm in the mood for, I just want something, I want to do some hobby, but I don't want to have to think too much. Get a kit, take it out of the one of the Mortal Realms packs, or if you've got a stack of pile of potential that's unassembled, and you can just sit. I'll just sit on the sofa, just clip the model off, sit there with my scalpel, cleaning the model lines off and everything. And again, it's really kind of just chill and zen, but you don't have to even think creatively at that point. It's just it's just the pure creative process, but you get that kind of rewarding feeling at the end of having achieved something, because there it is. It's all glued together and it's assembled, ready to be painted.
No, I think altogether, all I would say as well, just from the three of us, thanks to everybody for kind of sharing, because it's a big thing, and hopefully with us kind of sharing some of the biggest things that have affected us and how the hobby's helped and how the bad side of it as well, I guess. And hopefully you guys will take some of those tips and some of the things we've spoken about. You're not alone. We're here to talk. Our Discord channel's there. It's a really nice environment. All of us are really, really happy in there. All very friendly. Everybody just shares their hobby, has general chat in there. Please do come and join us over there. I'm not just saying that because I want you to come and join our Discord. It's more just because I really do. I enjoy the space myself mentally. It's just a nice place to be. And there are others if people want to even add other Discord suggestions. I know, Ben, you were saying on your video, go and watch Ben's video after this. There's the Dad. Is it Dad Hammer? Dad
Hammer Facebook group. But you have to be a dad to join.
Yeah.
But it is by far one of the most positive hobby spaces I've come across.
Yeah, so just a few different groups like this that people have recommended to you are nice and chill, that are good environments to be in mentally. I've definitely recommend. We shall move on to our second topic for the week, which will be a much shorter one. We have the US Dallas Open coming this weekend, but there's not really... it's not going to be a massive reveal day anyway. Obviously, the big one will be, I believe it's Thursday late night or early morning for us in the UK for the new Age of Sigmar 4th edition starter set. We're going to get the full shablam now. It's all going to be hopefully revealed to us, and then they're going to be playing 2 AEW wrestlers, apparently they've got in, to face off against each other in a spearhead game.
American Entertainment Wrestling. Yeah.
It's so American.
Yeah. So there's that. We did also get, I'll bring him up now, beautiful new Griffhound models. So go on, Ben, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I do almost want to imagine the playthrough on that to be, oh my God, now here he comes in, it's Nick Baton coming in from the side with a chair.
I know, I was hoping that they might do something like that.
Yeah, it needs to be like classic 80s WWF with cage match.
Yes.
Yeah. The big boss man versus
going,
the Snake Roberts.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. Well, that'll be interesting. But they've revealed one last model before their big reveal on Thursday, which is just a tease of the new Griffhound models. And wow, very dark, foreboding Griffhound look now.
He looks like a Kiwi.
Quote that. I see what you mean, though. I definitely see what you mean.
Obviously, I don't mean the fruit for anyone listening.
No. Yeah.
I was thinking that it looks actually like a hound. Like the previous ones were called Griff Hounds, but they always looked like little lions or something. They had more kind of feline tails and more kind of a feline look to them. Whereas this, I literally, when I first saw the thumbnail on the Warhammer community site, initially I just thought it was a new direwolf model because it looks like
it's a scruffy dog with a Kiwi's head.
Yeah. That's killed me now. Oh dear. But yeah,
it's cool.
It is a cool model. Obviously, compared to the older ones, it's very dark, foreboding. Like those eyes underneath the helmet. Wow, you wouldn't want one of those staring down at you, would you?
That's it's a ruination Griffhound, isn't it?
Yeah, clearly it's the Griffhound that's been
even the Griffhounds are losing their souls. Yeah,
not the goodest boy.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I'll be interested to see the other sculpts for those when it comes along. But moving on to the Saturday and the reveals that we've got Warhammer 40,000, Imperialis, Necromunda, and Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
But we got the other little tease of the model we got from this preview is this weird little, what they've called Xenos Beach Ball, which they've said is from the 41st millennium. So I'm guessing.
Well, you know what I said before we started recording. I got a bit giddy, didn't I?
Go on, Si.
I'm just gonna. It's probably not, but could this be some sort of floating like plant thing as Catachan Jungle Fighters related to it? Because there's a bit of a Predator vibe going on there.
Not where I thought you were going. Well, I looked at this. I mean, at first I thought Necromunda, but then I thought Enslavers. Now, I'm going to be testing your 40k lore here, but I'm fairly sure. I have to find a picture of one. I'm fairly sure that is what the artwork for the Enslavers looks like. Does that not look like a Xenos Beach Ball?
You're not wrong. It's pretty close.
Yeah. Now the Enslavers were a huge part of the lore for early like Rogue Trader era 40k, and then they got re-mentioned in the Horus Heresy as one of the things that the Blood Angels were tasked to go and stop. This was like how Horus sidelined the Blood Angels. And because they were supposed to have been eradicated, but then there was a report that there'd been this huge outbreak, and actually it was the whole trick to get Sanguinius off to meet up with the Corn Demon. But I looked at that and I thought,
yeah, there's definitely a similarity there.
There is a resemblance there. I can definitely agree with that.
So I'm wondering entirely, are we going to get like a new Xenos race, or is it going to be like, you know, they are like the Squats were loose on Necromunda before they then returned to the wider 40k galaxy? Are the Enslavers going to be loose? Is one of the other hives actually under the control of the Enslavers or something?
The only thing that you did just make me think, Ben, because obviously from the last preview we had, which was Adepticon, wasn't it? Obviously we spoke about the Necromunda. We thought it was the underneath Necromunda, isn't it? It's like and you said about it some. So, but we did say we thought it could even be some sort of like bounty hunter Necromunda gang, like a mix of different races even. So that would fit that. You have like a scout or some guy that's part of that gang that has one of these over him. You know, like you say, could very well be. Not a bad shout.
If it turned out that actually there's a secret enslaver outbreak in the under Hive Primus or something, that would be insane. Especially if you take into account the fact that there is an Imperial Fist chapter monastery on top of Hive Primus. It would be like, oh, the enslavers are back, and they are directly beneath one of the Imperial Fist's chapter fortresses. That would be mental.
Pretty sweet. Other than, I mean, Si, any other thoughts on Necromunda? I mean, fairly straightforward, I guess.
Yeah, so I think either Hive Secundus or they're going to do what Ben suggested a few weeks ago, go right down to the bottom of the hive, into the sump. Then we could have rat skins, we could have scavies, hive scum, like the dude with the plasma pistol, and bounty hunters as well. That could be some sort of accompaniment to a bounty hunter. So you never know. If it is from 40k, though, I will put my wishful thinking hat back on and hope for like some sort of Death World plant terrain, because you know they all talk about Catachan, they're raised on these jungle worlds where the whole environment can eat you in seconds. That doesn't look like a Predator style something or other. You never know.
No, you never know. You're right.
Cool. You know what I mean? I get Catachans into nearly every podcast.
Yeah, it's like me with more time. But yeah, it does. It does give you Predator vibes massively. But it does move us kind of into actually, so we can go for the Warhammer 40k predictions. We've obviously got the Codex sort of plan for the rest of the year, and I was speaking to you, Si, about before we started about this.
Yeah, we've seen the roadmap
for the summer. I believe it's meant to be Sisters of Battle or Adept Sororitas, whatever you want to call them, and Genestealer cults, and then possibly later in the year, because I think it got pushed back from summer. Was this like redacted image of a codex that we don't know technically what it's meant to be yet?
Codex enslavers.
Yeah, well, imagine.
So this redacted codex, a lot of people assume was the Agents of the Imperium or whatever it could be, because you've seen the leaked images of the printed pages, and it said like demon hunters on there and stuff like that. Banish the demon, I think it said, didn't it? So there was a lot of assumption that was going to be the redacted codex, but then there's Emperor's Children rumors flying around. And just today, actually, funnily enough, not 1 hour after you asked me to see what I could find, there was a leaked image flying around on Twitter and on Facebook from the Chaos Codex. The new Chaos Codex is like an excerpt, and it's saying for World Eaters, use Codex World Eaters. For Death Guard, use Death Guard. Or it's saying for certain things, use Death Guard. It's telling you what codexes to use for various troops. And there was one that said, use Emperor's Children. So
they
was
have
that
actually
like
revealed that already, though, I believe, haven't they, recently?
Well, they were featured as a White Dwarf list, weren't they?
Yeah. They've not said it's a code, but this book, from what I can gather from the leaked image, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, by the way, it was saying in this Chaos Space Marines book, for this particular thing, use Codex World Eaters. For this, use Codex Death Guard. For this, use Codex whatever. And it said, use Emperor's Children. So does that mean, Thousand Sons it might have been, I'm not sure. And does it mean there's an Emperor's Children Codex coming? So it could be that redacted Codex is Emperor's Children, but they said in the Warhammer community article the other day, didn't they, that they were coming, but it was a long way out.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is that. I think they're going to be next year. What I think it could be is Blood Angels.
Okay.
Because Dark Angels have just had a massive range refresh. Got all the fancy plastics and the upgrade sprues. Black Templars before that. I still think Space Wolves are going to come towards the end of 11th edition. I think Blood Angels, because there's rumours flying around about Blood Angels as well.
Sure.
That redacted Codex could very well be for Blood Angels.
Why would it be redacted if it was Blood Angels, though? Why wouldn't they have just said,
that's
hey, it's
the
Blood
only
Angels?
thing I did.
That's the thing, yeah. But then it's Games Workshop. Why did they do anything that they do?
But yeah, the only thing I would say, give a shout for, this little brain dude that we were still. I'll bring it up again because we didn't have
the
a proper look
Enslaver.
at it really. But
well, Ben, who got sent to deal with the Enslavers?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
The Grey Knight. Well, the Blood Angels did, but also the Grey Knights and the Witch Hunters are strongly interested in them because they feed
Witch Hunters
on
would
the
be from
brains.
the Xenos one, and Grey Knights apparently rumoured for Kill Team.
Well, they supposedly feed on the brains, like the psychic energy from Psykers, and then they can cause Psykers' brains to rip open and cause warp rifts. So, I mean, even if they were like an antagonist for like Grey Knights or something, that would be quite cool.
Imagine if it was actually like the reason it's redacted as well is because it's a special reveal. It's 2 codexes or something cool like that in a box set, and you could be right, Ben. That would then bring that in. You've got a perfect adversary for something like Blood Angels.
Did they say this is not Kill Team?
They haven't said what the Kill Team isn't on the list for the reveals.
So what they've said is it looks like a Xenos beach ball from the 41st millennium, which, given the only 2 things from the 41st millennium we've got this weekend, is 40k and Necromunda.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be linked to the only other thing I could think that we've got coming, if it's not something to do with the redacted codex, is it could be something Gene Stealer Cult, possibly. Is the only other thing I could think.
I think they
but
said
it could
beach
also.
ball, that's what Slime Arboy uses when he goes to the beach.
Doesn't look like it's the right colour for Gene Stealer. I mean, Gene Stealer,
that's the only thing I thought.
Blue and purple, don't you?
I would put my money more on Necromunda, if anything. That or something to do with this redacted codex at the end of the year. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
Could be something like the Ash Wastes. I mean, although I think it looks like the Enslavers, it could be like, one of those giant tick things that the giant fleas that the Ash Waste nomads have.
Dustback Helamites.
Yeah, it could be like, one of their ilk, some kind of giant floating, gas-filled tick or something that's
perfect for an Ash Waste Marshal to shoot with his shotgun, I think.
Yeah.
That was my exact sort of thinking, really, to be honest, was the same sort
Brave
of thing.
Star.
But I mean, God, that comes up enough as well. But to move things along, for Heresy, I think probably given that it's going to be Mechanicum because we had that teased.
I think it would be cool if it was Mechanicum for both Legions Imperialis and Horus Heresy. Like if they were to do it on both scales, that would be really cool.
There have been people saying that actually. That it could be.
Yeah, that could well be. To roll the dice a little bit as well, I think maybe we might see a hint of another Ascended Primarch.
That's true.
Because there's a few of them. They said they wanted to redo them all, didn't they? And if you look at Lorgar, it's a bit naff now, isn't it?
Legions
Horus
Imperialis
is really
scale
cool.
Primarch. That would be
Pardon?
interesting. Legions Imperialis scale Primarchs would be interesting.
Well,
I said that earlier, didn't
You
I?
just stole Luke's thunder because he was about
Sorry,
to-
dude.
No, it's perfect. We can lead into that because, as I say, Heresy, I think, is going to be fairly obviously that. But Imperialis, it could really be anything, technically. There's been nothing really teased. And there's a lot they can still technically do for that scale
Yeah.
that they haven't done yet. And
because we've still not
they,
got. There's a campaign book due, isn't there, for Legions Imperialis? It's got the rules for. Am I correct in thinking it's got the rules for the land speeders and things like that? This upcoming campaign supplement.
I don't know.
possibly. I don't keep track enough of Imperialis, if I'm being completely honest. You probably know more than us, Si, on that. On Imperialis.
Well, I've read the rule book when it came out. I can't remember now what's in the list.
Something along those
I'm
lines.
pretty sure like the land speeders aren't in the main rule book, but I'm sure I'll get battered in the comments if that's wrong. But I'm sure the rules are coming in the campaign book, as far as I remember.
But yeah, we can. It wouldn't surprise me if because I don't think we've had them on for a little while, so that would make sense. And then it'd be interesting to see when they do finally bring in Primarchs, like you say, Ben, as well, to that scale. We could definitely see that at some point soon.
I think
What was like the old metal Magnus with one eye
and a club over his. I'm going to say if they do release the Primarchs in Legion scale, then I would be tempted to get the full set.
I was about to say the same thing.
I couldn't justify doing it on the 30k scale.
No, absolutely
but
not.
Being able to go, look, this is my collection of mini Primarchs. That would be quite cute.
They've got it's been a while since I, like I say, went to Warhammer World this last weekend. We had a little bit of time on the Saturday to go into the museum. They've added at the very end a big Imperialis
cool
section, and myself and my friend Finn, we were looking at it. We were like, oh, this is really nice. Wish I could get some of these bits and bobs. And we were both on the same opinion of like, if it's still around by the day I retire, I might have time to do this. And it's just sadly, I know people will probably have a go at me in the comments for that, but it's just one of those, sadly.
It is the ongoing theme of as gamers' eyesight gets worse, they paint smaller and smaller miniatures.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's a pretty good roundup, guys, of the weekend's preview. It's pretty short, really. For that, especially for the Saturday, there won't be a hell of a lot. So we'll just have to see how accurate we are on Mondays next week, because we'll be reacting to
next
everything.
week.
So join us for that, guys, and let us know in the comments what you think will be coming. But we will try and get, I think, through some community questions this week, or at least get through one if we can, because we did have we skipped them last week. So we thought we'd save some for this week. And the first of which comes from Mobile Suit Gundad, who also submitted our Warhammer 20 questions this week. Asked, are there any units you would add to an army in Age of Sigmar 4th edition to improve their effectiveness or augment their playstyle? For example, Blackfield Magma Artillery for the Fire Slayers, aka Volcano Cannons. Because Fire Slayers don't have a hell of a lot of range. It could be pretty cool, I guess, something like that. So I kind of get where he's coming from.
That sounds like some Chaos Dwarf stuff to me.
It does sound quite Chaos Dwarf-esque. They must have infiltrated the Fire Slayers, maybe, but I can't see them doing that. But I get where you're coming from, Mobile Suit, on that one. I'll come off the back of what you said there, because we've said in a previous thing that we've done for a similar question. Fire Slayers, I'd love to see cavalry level Magma Droths. It's just sort of an in-between unit for Fire Slayers. They need more unit choice anyway. I think that's a nice middle point. Gives them another thing to kind of flank, a bit more speed. Cavalry Magma Droths. Very quickly, demons in general for Age of Sigmar. I'd love to see more variety for demons, specifically not mortal units. For demons, if you want to run a demon-specific army, there's not a hell of a lot of variety anymore. They're taking away some of the older models. I'm wondering whether they might bring up some new stuff again. We'll have to wait and see. So I would like to see some more variety, especially I'm considering Nurgle maybe later this year. Demons. I'd like to see them maybe get some fun range stuff. That could be quite cool.
Nurgle Plague Toads back again.
Yes, Ben. Yes. Plague Toads. Let's bring back the Plague
They
Toads.
were really cool models.
They were cool, and I don't think they ever brought them, sadly, across from Forge World, did they?
No, they were a Forge World resin unit, but that's not a problem. I mean, there's plenty of armies that have got cool Forge World stuff.
And like they've done with Old World, there's no reason why they couldn't just even bring back the Forge World models, just bring them into the new plastic. Why not? The only last one I had on my little list was just kind of a fun one, because I think the new Troggoth armies and the models are so gorgeous, but obviously there's slim variety. But there's so many cool ideas you could do with Troggoths, especially to give them that more kind of tactical advantage on the battlefield. I came up with the idea of giving them, you know how it's all like mushroom based with Troggoths?
Mm-hmm.
Give them mushroom terrain pieces or endless spells or something like that, where you could have different mushrooms that cause different aura abilities to affect your opponent's armies that you can just bring up on the battlefield. Just a fun idea that I had for Troggoth army. So that was kind of a little different one to bring in, I suppose.
For Troggoths, they could absolutely just steal from Privateer Press.
Yeah.
So trolls, obviously, in both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer the Old World, regenerate. If things get, lopped off them, they just grow the arm back or whatever. Anyone who's played Hordes in Privateer Press know that the Troll Bloods have the same ability. They can regenerate. Except in their case, sometimes what happens is the lopped off bits also regenerate. So you end up with things like these little kind of, I think they're called whelps or something. These little tiny trolls, which have got like one huge foot, for example,
Cool.
because it's the lopped off foot that has then grown a tiny troll out of the rest of it. And, you get things like, a troll with like a giant arm and then a tiny troll attached to it. But just imagine, therefore, if you had a whole army of like troll offcuts that have grown back as smaller versions of the troll with the one remaining large bit. Just steal it whole scale from Troll Bloods, import it into a Troggoth army. That would be really cool.
That'd be awesome. Ben, do you have any ideas for things?
I had, a couple of them. So two things that I'd like to see. Sylvaneth need more ranged combat. They are sorely lacking in ranged combat. I mean, they've got the little flyers with bows, but that's pretty much it. They need a battle line level infantry unit armed with bows. And it's just now, literally, we've already got, tree spirits. Just do a unit of tree spirits with bows. So you've got the option for tree spirits with melee weapons, tree spirits with bows. Not a huge, difficult one to do, but that would make a big difference to the way I think Sylvaneth play at the moment, because they are very much you have to get into combat army. Now, you've got a lot of stuff to help you get into combat, but you have to get into combat.
Yeah.
You can't, if you've got an opponent if you're fighting against someone who's got massed bow fire, you're basically stuffed, because they can just sit at the far side of the board and pelt you with arrows or whatever their army's equivalent is, whilst you slog your way across the board to them or try and teleport out of the nearest tree at them. The other one I'd like to see is Nighthaunt, I think, need a mid-level unit. So much like a lot of armies, like, again, Sylvaneth, you've got infantry, larger, monstrous kind of infantry. Fleshy Decor, you've got the infantry, the ghouls, but you've then got the larger, like the Crypt Horrors and the Crypt Flayers and stuff. Nighthaunt don't have that level. Almost everything in Nighthaunt is just low-level infantry level. And that's fine. It makes for a cool Swarm of Ghosts army. But I think they need something a bit bigger to fill that kind of larger 40mm round base level of units.
I get that.
I think that would change the way they play a little bit as well, which would be quite cool.
Yeah, I can see that. I get where you're coming from there. That could be pretty interesting. Sai, any ideas?
Aurochs, I think they need some sort of screening unit, don't they? They can just go and die. I can't remember if it was Pointy or Tom that said that as well. They don't really have anything.
What they used to use goblins for before goblins ran off and had their own army book.
So I don't know what you'd have or what you'd put in, but I mean, I think they could use some sort of screening unit.
Snotlings.
And then
Snotlings, grots, something like that.
Yeah, and the other one I was thinking of, and it's perhaps not so much would improve their effectiveness, but it could just offer a new dimension. Is Caradron only really have, don't they, the Arcanaut Company as infantry, and then you've got your grunts, your got the call now, the not Thundrix Profiteers, that's the Warhammer Underworld's Warband.
The Privateer ones.
Yeah, the 5-man squad.
Thunderers or something like that, I think, is like the more elite one.
Grunstock.
Thunderers. Yeah, Grunstock Thunderers.
Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. And then, because the only other choices really is taking gun haulers.
So
I know, obviously, it's sky dwarfs. That's what you want to be taking. But I think they could just do with another foot slogging unit, and maybe it could be the Copper Hats. Remember the guys who enforce the code, like the police from the Caradron. They'd be an awesome unit to just add in for a little bit of variety, because they haven't really had anything, have they? They've had the
No.
limited edition Arcanaut Admiral. They've had an Endrim Master, I think, in a dirigible suit.
The guy with the big stack of code
And the
that says on
code
his
right, yeah.
shoulders.
Yeah, the code right, the guy who reads all the books and tells you off. That's it. So I think just the copper hats or something like that just had a little bit of variety to the Caradron. And maybe I'm a bit biased because that's my army.
No, that'd be pretty cool. That your main one, then Syed. If that's fun, then
that and
we can
something
move
for
on,
the
yeah.
orcs, like a screening unit they could maybe do with.
Of course, yeah, the orcs. I've said that one. So yeah, no, that's awesome. I think we've got a nice mix there, actually, across the alliances as well. Actually, so that's quite good.
And
but of course,
even
guys,
more variety, Chaos Dwarfs.
That's another one that comes up. We're so old, Hammer. It's unreal. It's like bring back everything good from the. It's true.
What elves with bows?
Yeah, just add Chaos Dwarfs to every dwarf faction, because why not? But yeah, guys, as always, we love with these kind of community questions for you guys because I usually cut up these and obviously put them in smaller videos for you guys to get involved with. Leave us comments down below. Let us know what units or heroes, whatever you think, or terrain pieces like I mentioned, you think could be added into factions for Age of Sigmar 4th edition that would improve their effectiveness in different areas, or maybe just give them a different dimension, as Mobile Suit Gundad asked. Let us know. We'd be interested to see those. I think for the sake of time for this week, we will save community questions until next week now.
We talked a lot about other stuff earlier.
Yeah, and it was definitely worth the time, though, this week for that. It was an important topic, so I figured we might lose time on that, so that's fine. But I'm glad we at least managed to get one of those in this week, so thanks, guys. If you want to send more in, please do drop into our Discord. We've got a little channel open within that where you can leave your community questions, or you can message any of the three of us with any ideas. Leave comments below on the video, and we'll answer them here, and you might even get your own separate clip from it put onto the channel. But otherwise, it's that time that we all love to wait for every week. It's Warhammer 20 questions, and we've got Ben back as well with you, Si, now this week. So the team is back.
I defended the crown last week.
He did really well on it. It was Gotrek. Ben, you missed Gotrek for last week.
Oh, was it Gotrek?
Yeah, it was Gotrek last week.
Well, yeah, you say I did really well, but it was staring me in the face for a good minute or so before the penny dropped. Once I knew, I could start messing about.
It was like the Emperor, though. Like, you'd think the Emperor was easy, but it's just it gets to a certain point with the questioning where you don't think. But anyway, everybody knows that anyway. It's always like that. It's always the unexpected. But if you don't know, guys, and you're new to the channel, Warhammer 20 questions. The guys, I give them a character or unit from the lore or model from the Warhammer universe. Can be from any of the game systems that they have to try and guess who it is every week. They get 19 questions to try and find out who it is. The 20th is their guess. And yeah, that's pretty much all you really need to know. And like I say, Mobile Suit Gundad sent in a while back, so I've chosen another one of his. He was, I think, the first ever one that submitted them, so we've kind of come back around a bit now. So we've got another one of his. So yeah, guys, let the questioning begin.
Go on, Ben, take it away. You missed last week, so.
Oh, okay. I'll kick it off. Do you dwell in the 41st millennium?
I do. That's one.
Do you wear power armor, or does this unit or character wear power armor?
I do. That's 2 questions. Yes.
Do you have a model?
Yes, I do. That's 3. It's a good start, guys. This is yes.
We're going strong.
I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
Right, let's try and narrow it down. Are you an Inquisitor?
No, I'm not an Inquisitor.
Are you loyal to the Emperor?
No, I'm not. That's 5.
Traitor in power armor, then.
Would you be considered a leader amongst your peers?
Oh, that's kind of a tough line. I'd probably say no, but they're not like what you can. I'm gonna have to figure out how to word this. They're not like what you consider a lower unit, if you would say that, or person, or whatever you're going for. But I wouldn't consider a leader, probably.
Oh, maybe it's like Fabius.
So it's sort of a middle ground almost. Well, like they're given like a role, if you like, but they're not necessarily a leader. That's the best thing I can say, I think.
they could be a unit instead of a character as well. We should figure that out.
And when he said about a role as well, what was that executioner dude with the big axe? He's not a leader, but he's got a role,
No,
hasn't
that's true. Well, let's find out if it's a character or a unit.
he? Yeah.
Are you a unit?
No.
Okay, so it is a character.
Yeah.
Have you been in a Black Library novel or a series of Black Library novels dedicated to yourself?
I don't believe this character has.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. It could have been mentioned, but not, specifically.
Okay, so
we
it's
can
not
rule
one
out
of the main
people.
ones.
We can rule out people like Fabius Bile, Huron Blackheart, all them. Have
Yeah,
gone.
Khan, the Betrayer, all of that kind of stuff. Can't be
I
any of
believe
those.
that was question 9.
So it's a chaos. It's a chaos character
With a
that
model.
has a model, but is not what we would consider a special character, I suppose, because all the special
Yeah.
characters have featured
But
in the novel.
it has a role, but it's not like a leader.
Okay, so it's probably more likely one of the more generic character models. Do you have psychic powers?
Don't believe so. No.
So it's not a sorcerer or something like that.
Are you tied to a specific traitor legion?
Good question.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. It's got a model, but it is unique to a particular legion then.
Yeah, if you're asking if it's unique to that legion, yes.
It's probably.
Ooh.
I wonder if it's like
That's 11.
the Death Guard guy with the Hoover. Well, you know what I mean.
We hadn't. That's true. It could be any number of the like the Nurgle ones. It's not going to be 1,000 Sun because they've all got
It's not a
psychic
Hoover,
powers.
is it? You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. Let's see if it is a Death Guard one. Let's ask: are you beloved of Nurgle?
I am. That's 12.
Good shout, Si.
Starting
Good
to narrow
shout.
it down. Well done, Si.
Okay, so it's not any of the special characters again from that. So it's not like Typhus.
Does your character or model have an abacus attached to his power armor?
Yes, he does.
Ha.
Si is on the questions tonight. He's getting everyone right straight away.
Well, we had a number of Death Guard choices, and it was like shot in the dark with that one.
Yeah.
No, you've nailed it first time there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Let me ask this then. Does he really like counting?
He does. That's 14. Particularly because it's Nurgle likes the number 7.
Does he smell?
Probably not good, yeah. Not good, Si. That's 15.
Shall I just take a guess at it, Si?
Yeah, let's put him out of his misery.
Are you the Tallyman of Nurgle?
Yeah, Tallyman. I'll give you
Scribus.
that one. It is specifically,
Scribus
Wretch, the Tallyman, because he is a character.
Used to be
Back
generic.
in the
wasn't
day.
it? But-
It did, yeah. It used to be generic, and now they've named him, I think. He's not particularly got much lore either, from what I've looked at it. It's just literally Tallyman lore anyway, so it pretty much is the same thing. But yeah, more or less got it in 13 questions. Si, you're the one that's psychic this week. You just seem to like.
Well, 14 questions. It's a multiple of 7, clearly.
Yeah. There you go. It's meant to be. But
Undefeated.
that's
Yeah, we'll take that.
Thanks for that other suggestion, Mobile Suit Gundam. That was a good, fun one. We haven't had I don't think we've had really a chaos based 40k one yet, so that's cool to have that one in there. Awesome suggestion, dude. But please do, guys, if you would like to send in your own suggestion for us to do on the show, wargamingluke@gmail.com. Send it an email to me. Let us know. You can give me multiple suggestions if you want to, like most of the people who have sent in have. We'd love to have some new ones in and some new people give suggestions. So please do, or you can message me on social media, Discord, whatever you want to do. Just don't send it to the guys, because otherwise they'll know what it is and we can't use it, sadly. All right, that is our Warhammer 20 questions for the week. Thanks for that one, guys. Well done. You won another one. Well, I'm going to have to bring up a really hard one again soon, I think. Take you down a notch. It's got to be done, I think. But other than that, I think we'll finish up the show there and say our goodbyes. Before we do go, I guess, obviously we've had some deep conversation this week, guys. As I mentioned previously in the show, please do feel free to share with us if you want to. Also, please do also share this episode because I think it's quite an important one. And we'd love to raise the awareness out there as much as we can. Stuff like Si said with his hashtag Warhammer, get that going. You know, whenever you're out for a walk, share on your social media, maybe give that hashtag. Give people those ideas, share around the tips that we've given. Go and check out Si and Ben's videos that they've done on mental health awareness this week. It's really important. And the hobby can both definitely help you with that in many ways. But guys, where can we kind of find you, I guess? So Si, did you want to go first?
Yeah, can do so. Usual place on YouTube as Hobby Waffle, and like Luke was just saying at the beginning, we all wanted to do a video about this subject because it's quite important, and we didn't want to do a video just for doing its sake. We wanted to do something that, if it only helps one person, or it just gives one person a nudge to ask for help or just join a Discord server or whatever, then mission accomplished. We've done what we set out to do, haven't we? So yeah, Ben's done an excellent video on mental health, and I've got one on my channel where if the hobby is giving you some stress, or if the hobby is giving you a bit of grief, then one of the things that I found that helps me is just going for a walk. So I thought it might be a little bit of fun where we could make it fun to help ourselves. So if you go out, just tag it hashtag Warhammer, see how many people we can get off the backsides. Because the problem with doing this hobby is you sat at your desk, aren't you? Or you sat on the couch or whatever. We don't get a lot of exercise. So 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. Get out there, tag it Warhammer. Or if you're walking your dog, tag it Warhammer. Let's have a bit of fun with being kind to ourselves. And then other than that, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Hobby Waffle as well. I'll be posting miniatures on there. I'm just doing some Star Wars stuff at the moment. Got the bug for Shatterpoint again. But yeah. But as Luke said at the beginning as well, we're all here. Don't ever have anything on your own.
Don't be alone. Yeah,
it's cool to ask for help.
It is.
It's cool.
It is. And we're there on Discord. Just come and chat to us. Come and join in. Ben, please do close us out, friend.
Yeah, you can find me over on my channel as well, 90% Geek, and you can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and all other various places with the same handle. Like the guys mentioned, I've got my hobby mental health video up there, and I'm going to have more kind of crazy Ben content coming up in the coming weeks. I've got plans for a Morehammer video, which I'm sure Luke will enjoy. And I've also got plans for doing another scenery building video, which anyone who's watched my previous ones knows will only end one way, and that's usually with me glued to something unintentionally.
Well, thanks for that, Ben, and thanks, guys, for this episode. But until next week, as always, happy wargaming. See you later, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys. See ya.